Hi, Peter Walker here and welcome to today's edition of the Transition Guy. Now today I want to talk to you about not scaling up your business, not scaling down your business, but resizing your business. And resizing your business has not been a term that we've commonly used out there, but it's a term that really is going to be one of the words for 2021. And I want to talk to you about my experience of resizing. So very much I grew up in the era where your environment was really crucial to you. I mean, making sure that you had nice facilities, you had nice buildings, you projected the right kind of, I would say that you projected the right kind of impression, but when people came to visit you, you wanted to make sure you gave them the right kind of experience. So for me, office environment was absolutely critical, especially when a lot of my clients used to come to visit me face to face in my office. Now it's fair to say in the last 3 years that's been happening less and less and less as my work has become far more sort of international based and I've done a lot more over video. However, I still had that space, and what was really interesting was that the office that I had, that was part of my identity. And you'll find that with a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of companies, that actually their office space is part of their whole identity. And that's why if you look at sort of Google, Facebook and all these tech companies, they spend a fortune on the environment because they believe that if you get the environment right, the employees are going to be happy and they're going to be far more productive. And that was one of the things that I strove to do. However, back into 2019, my lease was coming to an end, and actually I was already thinking, okay, well, what do we do with the space? Because for me, the space was still valid. It was a great space, but it wasn't quite getting the utilization that it did maybe 3 or 4 years earlier. So that was a bit of a challenge for me, but it wasn't a pressing thing that I had to decide there and then or make a decision. However, the pandemic forced my hand. So when the pandemic was sort of first came out, and it was more in sort of Far Eastern Italy, I didn't really pay as much attention. Didn't think it would quite get to us to the degree it did. And that's probably because if we take the UK, I haven't really experienced anything that bad in my lifetime. And I don't think as a country we've experienced anything that bad in a very long time. So we had no really common modern day frame of reference. But when it did come and actually the country went into lockdown, that was a big shock. That was a big shock. All of a sudden business shut down overnight. Companies weren't coming to see you anymore. It was really eerie. But at the same time, the clients that I did have, where before they had an aversion to perhaps doing anything digitally. So I had a lot of clients that would come and see me face to face, but didn't want to do telephone, didn't do video because they preferred that sort of face to face meeting. All of a sudden, when that was no longer available, guess what? They switched to digital very, very quickly. And it wasn't just them. If you look at the entire world, the world went digital instantly. And that got me thinking that actually, do you know what? The world has changed. Overnight, we've seen a seismic shift. And I was speaking with my partners, and it was like, what we're going to do with this space. And eventually the decision was taken that we're going to get rid of the office space, which was at the time a big choice, a big, big decision. And from a financial point of view, I saw it make sense, but I never considered the implication or the psychological side of it. And when we did get rid of it, some of our employees were able to sort of work remotely, others were not, and we lost a number of people as well. So that made it tough. So all of a sudden, a support structure that was in place for many, many years was gone. And the one thing I kind of realised, well, it wasn't instantaneously, but after sort of 3 or 4 weeks, that realisation that that office was no longer going to be there for you, well, that hit me hard, because that had actually become part of my identity. And I had actually kitted it out in the way that suited my identity. So I had all the latest tech in there, digital whiteboards. It was really a good customer experience. However, that was all gone there, and I had to kind of refine my identity. And probably about for 2 months, I was in a bit of a personal slum because I was focusing on what I lost. And to me, it was a loss, and it was like a bereavement. However, when we talk about resizing, although I lost the space, I gained other space. I gained a different way of working, And I also gained a different support structure because I'd gained people in my team that were used to that remote working. So I had to make a few shifts. And I'm sure that many of you out there right now need to resize your organizations, because let's face it, most organizations will get a space and they'll ram that space solid before they have to sort of scale up and get some more space. And the reality is, if we say that in the UK, that March was the beginning of our lockdown, and many people are being told, well, don't come back to sort of after summer 2021, people are going to have been remote working, not fully all the time, but there's going to be about 18 months worth of experience remote working. Now, asking people, what do you want to do? Do you want to work back at the office or do you want to remote work? The majority of people out there are going to say they want a blended approach. And a blended approach will probably be 3 days at home, 2 days at the office, where they get to choose a commute. Now, that's going to have a huge impact on organisations, because if you've got a building that's, let's say, set up for 1,000 employees that will come in and work, and now you're sort of got 75% of them working remotely, and at any given time your business has only got 25% of its employees actually physically in the building, well, that's a lot of space that is probably going to be wasted. The question is going to be, how long do you want to be sort of holding on to that cost when you could be looking at other options? And a number of my clients, I've got a few that are actually scaling up their business. They're actually taking on more space, because it's not office space that they're after, it's more warehousing and distribution or manufacturing. So it makes sense that they're getting busier, therefore they need more of that space. But those that are in the office space environment, they're now looking at resizing. They're now looking at thinking, okay, if I'm only going to ever have 25% capacity, and actually as we start taking on more people in the organisation, we're probably going to end up taking more people remotely anyway, because a lot of people are going to have that expectation that they're going to work remotely. Do we really need the space? And if you haven't undergone the resizing exercise, I really strongly suggest you do it. You really look at the space that you need and then start making some decisions. What am I going to do with this space? If I can't really utilise it, how can I carve it up? How can I change it? Now, some people are going out there and they're subletting. Other people are looking to move full stop and are actually taking either rural locations away from city centres, or they're downsizing. The question is, you've got to go through this exercise. And when I think about it from hindsight, at the time, yeah, I was scared about the decision I made, and it did have an impact on me. But actually it forced me to change the way that I operate. It forced me to relook at my business. And 8 months later, I think, yeah, do you know what? It was an absolutely spot on decision to make. And I'm so super happy that I made it. At the time I wasn't, perhaps, and I had to go through that transition. But once I've been through that whole transition, I've gone through that grieving period, and I've sort of resized my business and sort of looked at how I do things, I must say, I'm in a happier place, a better place, and I'm better equipped to deal with the future. So if you need to resize your organisation, you're not quite sure where to start, why don't you head over to Bulker.com and get in touch, and let's look how we can resize your organisation. And resizing isn't necessarily a negative thing. Resizing can be a massively positive thing, because at the end of the day, the environment in which we're trading has changed, and it makes sense that we change with it. Now, if you love today's episode, please like it, share it. If you've got any comments, please put them in the comments section below. Always love to have feedback. You can put your questions in there as well, and I will get back to you. And finally, thank you for tuning in today's episode. And remember, failing to learn is learning to fail. Please stay safe.